In lesson 6.6, we are going to work on customary units of weight, measures that we use in the United States to measure how much something weighs. Let's go ahead and start. You will need your math journal, but we're going to go ahead and start with our whiteboard and do a little warm-up. On your whiteboard, we're going to go ahead and number 1, 2, and 3. For number 1, we're going to ask ourselves, 250 is how many times as great as 25? Number 2, 350 is how many times as great as 35? Notice we're talking multiplication here. And number 3, Miss Whitmore's class has 420 pencils. This is how many times as great as in Mr. Davenport's class with 42. Go ahead and pause the video and answer these 3 questions. Don't forget to pause. Don't let it just keep playing. Number 1. It is 10 times greater. 350 is 10 times greater than 35. And 420 is 10 times greater than 42. Let me show you just what that would look like as an equation. All right, go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Number 1 to 3. 6,400 is how many times as great as 80? Watch that 0. 4,900 is how many times as great as 70? And number 3, the car dealers in one state have 72,000 cars. How many times greater is this than another state with 9,000 cars? Watch those zeros carefully. Go ahead and pause your video. All right, number 1, this 0 cancels out one of this. So 8 times 8 is 64. And then I add on a 0. Let me show you what that would look like. 80 times 80 would be 6,400. There are my 2 zeros. This 0 cancels out 1 here. 7 times 7 is 49 with 1 0. This is what it would look like. 2 zeros in my left side of the equation, 2 on the right-hand side. And these 3 zeros cancel out these 3 zeros, so it is only 8 times greater. 8 times 9,000 equals 72,000. All right, questions about pounds, ounces, tons, and pounds again. Would a stapler weigh about 7 ounces or 7 pounds? So visualize a stapler. That would be question number 1. You can go ahead and use the chart to help you answer the questions. Number 2, might a car weigh about 1 ton or 2,000 pounds? Go ahead and answer these 2 questions on your whiteboard. Pause your video. Well, a stapler would weigh about 7 ounces. 7 pounds would be a very heavy stapler. Number 2, might a car weigh about 1 ton or 2,000 pounds? Watch this for a minute. 1 ton, if I look just below, that would be the same. So it's the same weight. Oh, I put in the same one. Go ahead and skip that. Today we're going to talk about weight, and 3 of measurements that we use in the United States is tons, pounds, and ounces. So if we look at how much a ton weighs, it helps to get a visual picture. So a very small car, or this is might be called an all-terrain vehicle or a razor, a couple of animals that weigh about a ton. We also use pounds. So a soccer ball or maybe your cord for plugging in your iPad. You're baking a pound of butter, 4 sticks, or a loaf of bread would be about a pound. When measuring things that don't weigh as much, we also use ounces. So if I take 1 paper clip, that's about an ounce, or a slice of bread. So you think about things that we might find in our kitchen. A bag of coffee would weigh about a pound. A small bag of apples, about 3 pounds. A bag of potatoes you can buy in 5 pounds or 10 pounds. Or about a gallon of milk weighs about 8 pounds. So just to get those measuring weights in your mind, we're going to move to journal page 204. So if you would please open up your math journal to page 204. We have measurement scales at the top of this page. It shows the relationship between tons and pounds and ounces. So if we're converting pounds to ounces, we're measuring something not incredibly heavy. If we're measuring tons and pounds, we're definitely looking at cars or large animals, things like that. So we're going to use the measurement scales to help us solve the problems. So the first one in number 1, we are going to use the bottom measurement scale. So it says that 1 ton is the same thing as 2,000 pounds. So 2 tons would be 4,000 pounds. 3 tons would be 6,000 pounds. And 5 tons would be 10,000 pounds. Please make sure you fill in your chart. Moving to number 2, we're going to go ahead and measure using that measurement scale and convert pounds to ounces. So we're going to look at the top one. 1 pound would be the same thing as 16 ounces. If you think of a bottle of pop, that is 16 9/10 ounces. So you can think about that as being about a pound, or you think about 4 sticks of butter. So that soda is about a pound, and then 4 sticks of butter equals a pound. We're going to go ahead and use our measurement scale up at the top. If we look at 3 pounds, it would be the same as 48 ounces. 4 pounds would be the same as 64 ounces. And 7 pounds would be the same as 112. So when we move from pounds to ounces, we multiply by 16. Let's continue down the page, 204. Now we're converting again back to tons and pounds. For every ton, we're going to multiply by 2,000. So notice that 9 isn't on here. We'd have to continue. But we know if we take 9 times 2 would be 18 and add on our 3 zeros. Let's go ahead and skip number 2, that second one, and go down to 14 tons. 14 times 2, or 14 doubled, would be 28. And then add on our 3 zeros. 25, if you can't do it in your head, you can multiply like this. 25 times 2 is 50, and then add on your 3 zeros. Now, if we do the opposite and move from pounds to tons, we're going to divide by 2,000 if we're moving this direction. So 20 divided by 2 is 10, and then I would go ahead and know that these 3 zeros cancel out these 3 zeros. Now moving from pounds to ounces in number 4, we do have the first 2 that are on our measurement scale. So 8 pounds would be the same as 128 ounces. And here we can see 144 pounds is the same thing as 9 pounds. But when we get to 12 and 20, we have to use multiplication. So over on the side of your math journal, you have some space to go ahead and multiply. We know that when we move from pounds to ounces, we're going to multiply by 16. So I want you to take 16 ounces. We're going to figure out 12 pounds. I want you to pause your video and go ahead and multiply. Pause your video. All right, here we go. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry your 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Put in my 0. 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1. Go ahead and add those up to get 192 ounces. And then lastly, 20 pounds times 16 ounces in each pound. Go ahead and pause your video. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Put in your 0. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 2 is 2. Add those two up, and you get 320. Moving across the page, you are going to move to page 205. Page 205. Number 5, a Compsognathus dinosaur weighed approximately 8 pounds. An Archaeopteryx weighed approximately 2 pounds. About how many more ounces did that first dinosaur weigh than the second one? Not going to try to pronounce those again. So what we're doing is trying to figure out difference. So 8, if we take 8 and subtract 2, 8 minus 2 equals 6 pounds. But notice it's asking how many more ounces. So we have to convert 6 pounds to ounces. So you can do it a couple of ways. You could take 16 ounces times 6 pounds and figure it out that way. Or you could go back to our converting of units. I'm going to go ahead and multiply. 6 times 6 is 36. Carry over my 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. 96 ounces. Number 6. A Pachyrhinosaurus weighed approximately 4 tons and traveled in herds. What would be the weight of 8 Pachyrhinosaurus have been in pounds? So to figure out 8 Pachyrhinosaurus, I would take 8. Each one weighed 4 tons. 8 times 4 is 32. And then that would be in tons. Remember that 1 ton is the same as 2,000 pounds. And again, if you need to go back, you can look at our chart there, our scale. So if I multiply this by 2 and add thousands behind it, 64, and then add my thousands, 64,000 pounds. Let's try one more problem, number 7. A Pisanosaurus weighed approximately 8 pounds, while a Sizosaurus weighed about 15 pounds. About how many total ounces would 13 Pisanosaurus and 6 Sizosaurus have weighed?